Hi everyone! Last week we spoke about categories of food processing. Today we shall dig in a little bit more, where we shall speak about processed food versus ultra-processed food. Food generally can go through up to 3 stages of processing. The primary processing is when the food is made edible. Harvesting grains, shelling nuts and also slaughtering chicken are considered primary processing. Food that has only undergone this stage is still considered whole food. Secondary processing is when the food becomes more complex, finished processed product. Stages involved here are canning, freezing and also cooking. Ultra-processed food, on the other hand, goes through an additional stage where manufacturers add sugar, flavoring, fat and chemical preservatives. I think most of us know that ultra-processed food is less nutritional, and it is pretty standard recommendation for us to consume fresh, natural, minimally or unprocessed food. In saying that, we need to know there is a huge difference between processed and ultra-processed food. Processed food is food that has gone through even slightest alteration from its natural state. Examples include tinned fish, frozen vegetables, even milk that goes through processing to make it safe for human consumption. Ultra-processed food are formulated food, contains many ingredients and usually tastes entirely different from the original version. Examples include potato chips, cheesels, sausages and even breakfast cereals. Manufacturers usually add sugar, flavoring, chemical preservatives and also fat to create an entirely new food. And specifically, it is the intake of ultra-processed food that is linked to overweight and also development of lifestyle diseases such as type 2 diabetes. Now, let's see how the same food can end up being processed or ultra-processed. Take a look at this. This is rolled oats. Rolled oats is still considered whole food because it has only undergone minimal processing. Then, with a little bit more stages of processing, it becomes bran cereal. However, this is still considered processed food and not ultra-processed yet. And this is your sweetened breakfast cereal, where it has been injected with lots of sugar and also chemical preservatives to get this version of the breakfast cereal. And this is considered ultra-processed. The next example is bread. A homemade bread is considered minimally processed, and a bread that you actually purchase from the local bread store is actually still considered processed. On the other hand, the mass-produced bread that you consume may be ultra-processed because it has got a lot of preservatives and stabilizers to increase the shelf life. The third example is actually peanut butter. This peanut butter only contains high oleic peanuts, therefore it is considered minimally processed. This peanut butter with chocolate flavoring is considered ultra-processed because it has got many ingredients and also chemical preservatives and stabilizers and also additional flavoring to make this version of the peanut butter. So this is considered ultra-processed. The next example is the whole grain with cheese that you eat at home. Whole grain crackers with cheese that we eat at home is still considered minimally processed. Then, if you eat this cheese crackers, which is actually flavored cheese crackers, it is already considered ultra-processed. The next example is chicken. The fresh chicken meat that you buy from supermarkets and cook yourself is considered minimally processed. And even marinated chicken that you buy from the supermarket and roast it at home is still considered minimally processed. However, the sausages and nuggets that you buy are considered ultra-processed. Why? Think and see. Does this sausage or nugget look anything like chicken? No, right? It has got entirely new taste as well. So that's why it is considered ultra-processed. The next example is of course roti canai. Think about it. At home, we always make chapati. Chapati is made of whole wheat flour, so it is still considered minimally processed. And when you go to the shop and buy roti canai, it is made of white flour and also oil. So this is considered processed, but it is still not the ultra-processed form yet. However, the frozen roti canai that you buy from the supermarket is considered ultra-processed. Why is it so? This frozen roti canai usually contains a lot of added ingredients, preservatives and chemical to increase its shelf life. Next example is actually fresh juice. the fresh juice that you squeeze at home is still considered minimally processed. Then, there is this fresh juice that you can buy from the supermarket. However, it is considered processed because it does contain certain amount of added sugar. Then, you actually have the ultra-processed version of your juice, which is the cordial. This cordial has got many added ingredients and contain very less fruit in it. So therefore, it becomes ultra-processed. The next example is milk. The fresh milk that you find in the chiller is still considered whole food because it only contains fresh milk. Then, the milk that you actually get it from the shelf, which is longer shelf life, is considered processed. Then when the milk contains flavoring like chocolate flavoring or whatever other flavorings, it becomes ultra-processed. The last example is nuts. Raw nuts is considered minimally processed. Then we have got the roasted nuts with salt, which is still considered processed, but it is still considered minimal processed because there's only added salt. Then the nut can become ultra-processed if it is coated with honey or any other flavoring to make it taste as a new version. With all these examples, I hope now you are able to differentiate between processed and ultra-processed food. So the same food can end up being minimally processed, can be moderately processed, or even ultra-processed. Alright, so stay tuned to my next week's video where I shall speak about why ultra-processed food is bad for us. Thank you and bye!